Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. I apologize. It's Saquon Barkley I meant to say, and Daniel Jones.
The Jones brothers.
But the Jones brothers just as good. I mean, I got no problem with that
That's a
either.
good question because, I don't even think about Saquon in the mix because I've just been thinking about what the Giants are going to do with Daniel Jones.
You can't pay them both.
Now you can do something this year.
Right.
But I don't know. You could pay them both. Somebody's got to take a little bit of a discount, and I think it would be Daniel Jones to take that discount. Listen, Daniel Jones is a top 20 guy, and there's only about 20 guys. There's 32 starting quarterbacks, but
there's really only 20.
There's 12 of them that I don't know. They may want to raffle to get that job. But Daniel Jones has proven he's won that playoff game against Minnesota. I think he's exceeded the expectations that people thought when he was drafted. To franchise him, though, I don't know. I think he's going to be asking for more years than what you want to give him. I think his agent is going to come with 5, maybe even 7 years, and most New York Giants fans only want to give him 3. They're sold, but they're not completely sold. Like, he's top 20. He's definitely a starter, but he's not the man like some of these other guys. I think if you can get Daniel Jones to knock those years down, you're going to have to pay him more for those years. But I think you can come right in at market value per year for Daniel Jones and only have to sign him up for 4. And I think he would take that deal. And then I would, if I'm the general manager today, I would franchise tag Saquon Barkley.
So the salary cap goes up to 224.8. Why don't I just do 225? I don't get it. Anyway,
It's an average.
We talked a little earlier about Lamar Jackson. That makes great sense. But like you said, you could franchise. Can you franchise 2 guys?
No.
So it'd have to be Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley with the Giants. Now that, honestly, I think transparency, full disclosure. You go to the guys and you say, hey, listen. Which one of you would it not matter as much?
They're different cats.
Right,
Where I think these two, you might be able to. 2 other guys, like if you're talking Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which one of you guys?
Right.
They look at each other. We need to talk alone.
But you got to talk to both of these guys. They both seem like there's a certain amount of humility between the 2 of them. One of them might say, listen, franchise me this year, and then hopefully we could negotiate this. Honestly, I think if I'm Saquon Barkley, I want the security. I'm a running back. My days are numbered as a running back to how good my prime is going to be. So maybe Daniel Jones does that. But listen, you need both of them. That's the thing. What I'm saying is you go to them and you're like, listen, if we can't come to terms with both or one of you, we're going to probably get rid of one of you. And that is a bigger problem because, okay, well now what if I have to ship you to a lousy team? You know what? The Texans really need a running back, Saquon.
Oh,
I mean, that's some of the things that, honestly, if it's an open conversation and you want to keep playing with the Giants, I think, how often is it you're trying to franchise 2 guys on the same team?
Well, it's just a weird situation that we're in.
That are both coming off great years.
Right, and just the timing of it and, middle of the road. I mean, above average. Let's keep saying that. They're above average. They're a playoff team. But if I'm rolling the dice on one, I'm rolling the dice on Daniel Jones simply because of the position.
Right.
The position is a bigger deal to me than the actual person in the uniform. I understand Saquon is end-all be-all when it comes to this offense. Like, he is the go-to guy and everyone is keying on. I would say probably the first option for a pass, too, from Daniel Jones. We'll see what happens with the draft. We'll see what happens in free agency to putting some weapons around. I would say both of these guys, not just Daniel Jones, but both of these guys. But the shelf life in the NFL is what it is for a running back.
Right, and they know exactly where that line is pretty much. I mean, and I'm looking back a few years, this problem was going on with Ezekiel Elliott, and you're going to give him the long-term contract, but Tony Pollard was there, and he had not earned the right to be like the everyday running back. Now he has. Matt Breida, I don't know if he's where Tony Pollard was before he became where he is. No, but you have to think he's serviceable.
Well, not only that, but just at that position, I can go around the league. I can go around practice squads. I can go around the draft, and I can find serviceable running backs. Serviceable quarterbacks, very tough. Maybe a week, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe to patch me over for an injury.
But you know what I'm
For a
saying.
full
Would you
season?
rather play with the Giants and have a chance to win, or we have to get rid of you because of the salary constraints? And you know what? This package to this team seems to be working. This team's going to win 3 games this year. Do you want to be that running back? And, you still might have to get franchised on their team next year. I mean, the thing about football is, especially with running backs, is that your days are numbered when you get in the league. And this guy's already coming off of a busted up leg. So,
But I would argue, too, that when it comes to position and best in the
you
position.
got to have the best quarterbacks if you're going to win a Super Bowl.
Right, but Saquon does have more negotiating power. Even though
Absolutely.
I would do what I would want to do, and I would lean towards the Daniel Jones route rather than the running back route. No disrespect again to Saquon, but Saquon is arguably the best. Like the best. Like Derrick Henry, yeah, I got you. But Saquon is a younger version and can catch a little bit better. Here's one good thing that the Giants have going for them. Both those guys are friends.
Right.
Both those guys have come up in this New York market. Both those guys have had to deal with it. Both those guys want to be Giants. Both those guys want to win. Both those guys want to win together. I think you can bank on that a little bit more than what you could any other duo that is in this situation. I think they do like playing with each other. I think they know that they've got the works, like it's cooking, like they need some extra. They don't have what it takes right now, but they know if they stick around, those two in particular, that they could build something here in the next couple of years. Like it's not that far away. If they got more weapons on offense, kept beefing up that defense, yes, the Philadelphia Eagles are still in their neighborhood. The Dallas Cowboys are still in their neighborhood. But those two together could put something on the field for the next couple of years that is going to be contending for Super Bowls.
Josh Jacobs could be franchised, had 300 more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. They just dumped his quarterback.
Yeah. I understand that, but does Aaron Rodgers come into play on this negotiation? When you got a running back from the Oakland Raiders, and again, Vegas Raiders, again, a running back, which in my world, you can find these guys anywhere. You're in the sweepstakes for the Aaron Rodgers coming out of hiding and seeing his shadow.
Let's put it this way. All weekend long, I heard about Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets or Derek Carr. I heard a bunch of people talking about pull the trigger on Carr because you can't trust Aaron Rodgers. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
If I have my druthers and the baggage, I certainly don't have the same amount of baggage with Derek Carr as you're going to get with Aaron Rodgers. If you do get him, I think that's a pipe dream you're going to get him. I think he's going back to Green Bay. I said that before. You have to have a great quarterback. And I don't know if Derek Carr is a great quarterback, but I think he's better than Zach Wilson. And, I'm not in their heads. I don't know what they're thinking. But we just talked about, are you top 20? Are you top 10? I would have to think that Derek Carr's in the top 10, top 15. Aaron Rodgers is in the top 3. But he is also old. So, you got to pull the trigger on some of these deals if you're management. Now, the franchise things, listen, if I'm Josh Jacobs and I heard this about Lamar Jackson, you can demand a trade as well. You can try to get the hell out of there if you want to, and if I'm some of these guys, but some of these guys are creatures of habit. Like I said, this guy might love Vegas. Saquon might love where he's living. I'm going to say he lives in New Jersey somewhere in a beautiful neighborhood. Same thing with Daniel Jones. I don't want to have to sell my house. I don't want to have to uproot my kids. I don't have to do all this other stuff. So, there's more than just dollars and cents in a lot of these life-changing decisions.
Tony Pollard is significantly underpaid in his own backfield. He's looking across the hall at Ezekiel. He's making about $19 million more than he did. However, Tony rushed about 30 to 40 more times less than Ezekiel. Tony Pollard was a 1,000-yard running back. Ezekiel Elliott only had 800 plus. Ezekiel did score more touchdowns, but he does get a lot more handoffs inside the 5. It's just a weird world when you play the same position and you are kicking more butt on the field and the other person's kicking more butt at the bank. That's got to be a tough locker room. But they're boys. They're friends. They're cool with it. Tony Pollard knows that he deserves at least half of what Ezekiel's getting. I don't know what the Dallas Cowboys do here. I don't know. Probably a franchise tag. I'm big on running back franchises. It's because, I feel like there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them you can turn to if this one doesn't work out. And I'd rather be strapped for the top 5 salary for 1 year rather than a monster contract or whatever for multiple years at this position.
What they're talking about is it's only going to cost him $10 million to franchise Tony because he's making was he making $3 million this year?
Yes,
That's awful.
3.1.
But it is what it is. I mean,
it is what it is.
Zeke had his big years, came up for free agency, and they had to keep him. Listen, they're going to do this stuff with Schultz as well. So Schultz, I guess they could pay him $13 million because this is his second year. They would franchise him. So I just think, listen, the Cowboys have a bunch of dough in Dak and Zeke, and the other guys have to know that I can try and go somewhere else and get a lot more money and get locked in. If I'm Tony Pollard, I try to do it that route because, listen, Tony, you're not going to be this good for the next 10 years, maybe next 5, but you should take advantage of when you're in your prime, get paid for those prime years like Zeke did. As soon as Zeke got his money, his production went down. Absolutely, went off a cliff. But I'm not going to say that the guy didn't want to play football. I think you and I both agree on this. There's a shelf life to being a running back. It's like with catching in the major leagues. There's cutoff games. When you get to 1250 in games caught in the major leagues, your production's going down. There's a graph of all of these great catchers. Same thing with running backs. There's a certain amount of carries, a certain amount of times you get hit, that all of a sudden, boom, you get to this point, that the production's going down.
Honestly, for me, I think that the franchise tag for a running back is a great lottery ticket these days. I say take the money and run, literally.
Geno Smith, what do you think about Geno real quick?
I think it's franchise. I mean, yes, he had a great year, made the playoffs.
I don't think he deserves the long-term deal.
It doesn't stick out as, man,
three times.
This guy is, do it again.
Yep,
and
do it again.
Because if you let Geno Smith go, I think the market for Daniel Jones is more so than what a Geno Smith is right now.
Absolutely. Younger guy, and he did it in New York. Geno had to leave New York.
That's a good point.
To get it done. All right, Dibbles and Bits is next, brought to you by Trantolo and Trantolo. We'll be right back on the Rob Dibbles Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. Kurt Kaplan on the ones and twos.